What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Down Once More. Matt here. It is time for a mini episode. So, it's the week after Thanksgiving. Just want to say thankful for all of you guys that choose to spend your time listening to us when there's about 10 billion other podcasts out there. Especially shout out to those and thankful for those of you who watch us on YouTube. Take the time, like, comment, interact. You guys rock. Keep doing what you're doing. And here's to another year of going down. So, today's episode got a little bit of news, updates, and then I'm going to do a mini review for Marvel's newest movie, The Marvels. That's in theaters. And then I'm finally going to talk about The Last of Us Part 2, my kind of thoughts on how the story goes in the game, which I've already played. Obviously, I was doing a replay and going to do more in depth. That's not happening. I wanted to get out there and give like my predictions and where I feel like they should go with the TV series in season 2, since there's a bigger world, and I think season 2 is a lot bigger than the game part 2 is a lot bigger than the first game. And so there's a lot more to explore, and how I feel like they could break it into multiple seasons and still keep this hit going without having to pull a Game of Thrones and go way ahead of where they are at with the source material. So there will be time codes in the YouTube comments, time codes in the episode description on podcast platforms. So if you're not interested in that or you don't want any spoilers, skip ahead. All right. Really only two items of news here. First, if you're a Marvel fan, I'm doing a Marvel review today, so obviously I am a little bit. They recently pushed a lot of their dates, so now there's only one Marvel movie coming out in 2024, and that is Deadpool 3. So lots of rumors around that, what kind of cameos, who's going to be pulled into it on there. And so I'm really excited for that movie, and I think this is a step in the right direction for Marvel to kind of take a breath, slow down their release schedule instead of just pumping things out, pushing out as much content as they can. So I'm excited about this direction. I think is a good choice. Secondly, I predicted this was going to happen when I saw it and on my review of it on here, but it was officially announced that Titanic the Musical is coming to Broadway HD on December 15th. So if it's a musical that you're dying to see or you're interested in, consider checking it out there. I've said before, I think Broadway HD is one of the worst UIs and setups for any streaming platform, and that's true. However, it is available as an add-on via Amazon Prime. So it's too late for me. I already did a year subscription regular, and I don't think I can connect that to my Prime, but I haven't done the research. But if you really want to watch the content on there, do it through Amazon Prime, so then you can just watch it using their app and their interface instead of being forced to resort to either a laptop or your phone. Because like I said, it doesn't even have a cast to your TV. With the Apple, at least, the Apple app, you can't do an AirPlay and cast it to your TV. So that's lame. But Titanic the Musical coming to Broadway HD December 15th. Now, I'm going to get into the Marvels mini review first. So The Marvels has now been in theaters for a few weeks. This is the sequel to Captain Marvel with however many movies in between. There's a couple things I want to say about before we get into it. First, because I've seen people saying, oh, this sucks, people won't like it. You have to watch 2 Disney Plus series before you go into this movie. I think that's part of why people are a little hesitant about this. And it could factor into this being the lowest box office performing Marvel movie ever, and also having the highest drop off from week 1 to week 2 with like a 79% drop off, I think it was, of any Marvel movie ever. I don't feel as if you really need to see both series to enjoy the show. I think Miss Marvel, is one of the better of the Disney Plus Marvel series out there, so I'd highly encourage that everyone watches it still. But I think you can still have fun with this movie even if you haven't watched that series. Same with WandaVision, it was the first Marvel Disney Plus series, and it's also been one of the higher regarded ones. And that kind of introduces Monica Rambeau's character who is one of the three Marvels in this movie. As Tiana Paris as Monica Rambeau, Brie Larson as Captain Marvel / Carol Danvers, and Iman Vellani as Kamala Khan, also known as Miss Marvel. So I think I hinted at Miss Marvel on here too, that I thought the series as a whole was great and solid. Where it actually kind of fell apart and got knocked down a peg to me was when the finale episode, where it gets into same powers versus same powers, a little bit in there, and kind of loses a little bit of its heart and its way, I felt like. But overall, I thought it was a completely fun, inoffensive show, and like I said, one of the better ones on Disney Plus out there. But the Marvels, it's been out for a few weeks, and I do not feel like it is even remotely deserving of the hate and the bad publicity and the poor box office performance that it suffered. I had a lot of fun with this movie. In my opinion, I thought it was definitely better. I know it's a low bar, but better than Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. I thought it was significantly more fun, and I liked it better than the original Captain Marvel, which I thought was fine. It just didn't have some of the heart, and it wasn't a plot I was as invested in as some of the other Marvel ones. But this one, I will gladly rewatch this movie probably multiple times. Iman Vellani as Kamala Khan is one of the best additions that we've seen to the Marvel Universe, in my opinion, so far. She has so much heart, and you can see it in interviews and like with Jimmy Kimmel and things like that. She just has so much passion for this character in this universe, and that's awesome to see. And so I really like that. Tiana Paris as Monica Rambeau, she never gets a code name in this. I believe her code name in the comics, don't come at me if I'm wrong, I didn't read these comics, was Photon. Don't quote me, not sure why I even mentioned it, since there's a chance I'm wrong. I thought Brie Larson stepped up her game in this one as well, and so it's not overly long. I thought the pacing was really good in it. My biggest problem is that it has such a forgettable villain that you don't care about. And I don't think that's the actress's fault. Zawe Ashton did really good as Darben, I felt like, as well as it could be. But I just felt like the writing behind it, the story, the stakes, I don't know, it never sucked me in, and I was never engaging with it. To me, the true story here, and the real challenge was the three co-leads figuring out how to work together and deal with these powers. Their powers become entangled. And I thought that was what was charming about this, visiting different planets. This actually ties into this being a musical podcast, because they visit a musical planet where the language is song. And so there's a couple singing and dance numbers that are a lot of fun. Visually, this movie, it's bright, it's fun, it's cheery. There's one of the best musical songs incorporated into a non-musical movie, in my opinion. There is a scene where Memory from Cats is playing, and I'm not going to spoil it, but it was a lot of fun. Samuel L. Jackson is having a good time in this. I really enjoyed it. I feel like it doesn't deserve anywhere near the hate that it's getting online. And I don't know if that just has to do with people having MCU fatigue and burnout with it, with so many things just being pumped out and the quality seeming like it's slowly declining, or quickly declining, I should say. I don't know if it's that. I don't know if it's sexism. I don't know, because this is primarily, like, it's a female-led film, and that's who you spend the majority of the time with. I don't know if it's because people didn't love Brie Larson as Captain Marvel. I felt like she was really good in this one. I felt like there were times in the first one where her performance could be a little wooden, but I thought that was resolved and like fixed in this one. This one, she seems to be having a lot more fun with the character, and Brie Larson is a fantastic actress. I mentioned it on here when I watched Room for the first time. I was blown away. I didn't know she had that in her, and I don't know what she's doing. Well, the paycheck is what she's doing. Not what she's doing in the MCU. She has such good acting skills and chops. So I think if you haven't given Miss Marvel's a chance, if you've listened to the negative publicity, shut up and watch it. I mean, if it's still in theaters, go see it in theaters. It's a fun experience in theaters. I saw it in 3D. I didn't feel like the 3D really added anything to it, but I was glad I saw it on the big screen. It has a really cool mid-credit scene that people are hyping up. I also feel like Marvel, I don't know if it was just like a scramble when they saw the box office projections, but there were things put in the teaser trailers from that mid-credit scene that I'm like, why are we spoiling this? Like, that's a whole other problem that I have, that I feel like in the movie trailer industry, we're revealing way more than we should be and giving away key plots of the movies and trailers, and it annoys the shit out of me. But The Marvels is a lot of fun. Highly encourage you to watch it. If you're waiting until it comes out on Disney Plus, fine. It should probably be out. My guess would be they'll probably throw it on there around Christmas time. That'll be at around not quite the 45-day mark, but close to it. And hopefully they'll get some family streams. The other thing, I've seen people talk about this online, and I couldn't agree more, that I think one of Marvel's biggest mistakes was not marketing this as like a fun family movie. Like, it's lighthearted. There's nothing too gory or violent or anything. None of the humor is too adult or edgy. Like, this is a fun family movie, and I feel like if they would have marketed it that way, which, not gonna lie, I'm glad there weren't just a shitload of kids at the movie theater when I went, but I think it would have done great. I will also say, so I saw this the Tuesday after it came out. My theater does cheaper showings on Tuesday, so save a couple bucks because I'm a cheapskate. But it was the emptiest I have seen the theater for a Marvel movie ever, even if it was a couple weeks deep. This was not even half filled, and I mean, that I wasn't too surprised because I'd been seeing how I'd been performing on the box office, but it just blew me away, and I'm really disappointed this didn't get more love. I think Iman Vellani in interviews and stuff, she's trying to, like, she's positive. She's like, I don't worry about the box office. That's Kevin Feige's deal. I just know I did the best I can and go out there and act, and I love this character, and I love seeing that. But I hope this doesn't sideline some of these characters more or cause Marvel to shift their plans away from them, which I don't think they will. I think the future will be tied to especially Iman Vellani and Tiana Paris as Monica Rambeau. But I don't know. I hope they don't do anything drastic. These characters were a lot of fun. They had awesome chemistry in it. And I think everyone should go watch The Marvels. Even if you're not a superhero movie fan, it's fun. It's got some good comedic moments. So that's my review of The Marvels. All right, now I'm going to get into The Last of Us Part 2. First things first, I'm going to be talking some spoilers about The Last of Us Part 2, the game, which will most likely, I mean, we don't know if it'll be 100% accurate in Season 2 of the show, but there's a good chance that it will follow at least the core and the heart of it fairly closely, because that's what they did with Season 1. So be warned, if you don't want to know spoilers, skip this portion of the podcast or listen, and by the time the show comes out, you'll forget about it. And the game's been out for multiple years, so you've had plenty of time. So I wanted to get on here because I've been talking about doing this for a while since Season 1 of the show ended, which has probably got to be close to a year now. But I started replaying The Last of Us Part 2, the game, which when I played through it the first time, because I hadn't played Part 1 when it came out, I played Part 1, went right into playing Part 2. I enjoyed Part 2 better. A lot of people had a lot of thoughts differently, but I felt from a gameplay standpoint and even the storytelling standpoint, I enjoyed it more. I already gave multiple spoiler warnings, so you can't get mad at me at this point. But with Ellie's character being the primary antagonist of this, no, not antagonist, protagonist, English is important, being the primary protagonist in this, I really like that, seeing that growth in her character from Part 1 into this. So a little summary of the game, if you have not played the game, and this is spoilers for what you can expect. The game opens up with a new character we haven't seen before, Abby. We're playing with her and a group of people. And they're nope, that's a lie. That's a lie. It's been a while since I played it. It opens up a brief prologue with Joel, then goes to Abby, then back to Joel, and then back to Abby for a little bit, which is basically just a prologue of the game. The first hour to 2 hours. And then it turns into you play as Ellie, because Joel gets murdered by Allie, and not Allie, holy shit, Abby and her group from Seattle. So they're hunting for Joel, and they're trying to take him out. Her group is. That's when we get introduced to her character. That's their mission. They're trying to find people. She ends up encountering Joel and Tommy as she's running away from a group of clickers. I started almost calling them walkers. It's been a while since I've been in the Last of Us universe, so apologies. And then they end up brutally murdering Joel in front of Ellie and then taking off. Ellie goes to Seattle to try to track her down, get her revenge, find out why they did that, and murder her and everyone that took part in murdering Joel. And then the twist in the games is there's a shift, and it jumps back in time a little bit where you play as Abby. It was very polarizing when the game came out. People did not want to be put in the shoes and then learn to sympathize with this character who brutally murdered Joel, who they had fallen in love with and played a 20-hour game with, living as him, and then for him to get brutally murdered in the first hour of the sequel, and then you have to play it as his murderer for part of the game. I didn't have as much of a problem with it. It was a very bold narrative choice, I felt like, and I ended up enjoying playing as Abby more and her story and learning more about her and what drove her than I did playing as Ellie. The big thing, Abby's motivation, is her dad is the doctor that Joel kills at the end of season 1 or part 1 of the game, the one that was going to do the surgery on Ellie to help create the antidote for everyone to try to save him from the virus that was going to, it was going to murder Ellie, which is why Joel goes berserker mode and kills the doctor, kills everyone else. Abby's dad was the doctor. So she's getting her, a little bit of revenge on Joel is what her mission is then. And so, another important note. Sorry, this is very disjointed, so if you just came here for this, I apologize. The part 2, the game, takes place 4 years after the end of part 1 or season 1, if we're going in the show. So a big driving point in the themes in part 2 are anger, grief, regret, and loss. Those are the main things. And ultimately, I know we talked about this when I was doing my reviews of the series, is ultimately everything comes down to love. That's the main thing behind The Last of Us, is love. And I thought that was tackled really well and told as a very compelling story in the game, The Last of Us Part 2. Now, some news on that. Naughty Dog announced they're releasing a remastered version of Part 2 for PS5. The graphics for Part 2, when it released on PS4, were fantastic. So it doesn't look like there's a ton of improvement there. I'm sure they'll do some other minor tweaks, fidelity. It's like a $10 upgrade if you already own The Last of Us Part 2, which isn't bad at all. And so I'm going to wait, and I'll probably complete a replay then, and then maybe I'll do another one of these videos right before Season 2 launches on Max or HBO, whatever they decide to be called at that point. They're planning on starting to film at the beginning of 2024, the announcement I've seen. There are a number of rumors for who could play Abby. And I will just say right now, I feel bad for whoever this is going to be, and I feel like it should not be someone who's big on social media, because they are going to get so many rabid fans coming at them, at least especially at the beginning. Right now, the newest, most recent rumor of who's playing Abby is Caitlin Dever. Now, if you listen to this podcast, you may know her from Dear Evan Hansen. She played Zoe Murphy. She was also on the show Last Man Standing. She had a new movie that was released on Hulu this year that was No One Will Save You. That her performance in that has been getting a lot of positive feedback and recognition. I have not watched it yet, I'll admit. I think she's an interesting choice to play Abby. Abby in the games is buff and just built, and she's a lot more masculine, deeper voice, and very intimidating. Caitlin Dever can play serious roles really well. I don't see her as necessarily an intimidating person, so that would be an interesting place to do it. She's older than Bella Ramsey, but she looks young enough that I feel like she could pass for similar age ranges there. Some of the first rumors that came out of names being considered were Florence Pugh, who I feel like she's similar in age to Caitlin Dever and probably somewhat close to Bella Ramsey now, but I feel like she just looks too old for the part. I also can't necessarily picture her in that role as the menacing, intimidating person either. And then Shannon Barry is another common one in fan cast that was thrown around there. I'm not familiar with her work as much, but she starred in, I believe it's an Amazon Prime series, The Wilds. And I feel like she, out of those three actresses, she has the look of Abby down best. So we'll see who it ends up being. Like I said, I feel for them, especially for people who haven't played the games and don't know what they're walking into. Because like I said, in the games, Joel gets murdered so quickly into it. So it'd probably take place in like episode 1 or 2 of the show. And then the rest would be Ellie and Abby. So like I said, this game is a lot longer than part 1. And it's told from dual perspectives. It's told from Ellie's, it's told from Abby. So I was thinking as I was playing through, I'm like, what's a way that they could adapt this into the TV series and not make it so jarring? Like, you can't really in a TV series have it be where the first half of episodes are one character and then the second half is another. Especially when the second half would be Abby, the person who just killed Joel. I feel like viewership could tank and go down, and you could get people to turn on you really quickly there. So my prediction and my theory and suggestion for what it is that they take a lot of filler and fill in kind of what happened in those 4 years between the end of season 1 and the beginning of season 2, and then have season 2 essentially end when the prologue of the game ends. So I had kind of a breakdown that I had typed up as I was playing the game on what I feel like. So in part 2 of the game, you play a number of flashbacks as still as Ellie, but with Joel during either their initial trip to Seattle. Was it in Seattle? Their initial trip when they're going to find the Fireflies, and then in between there, when Joel wipes out everyone, tells Ellie that her immunity cannot be turned into a cure. So from that, and then the 4-year jump to where this game picks up. How I feel like they should do. Oh, another thing, part 2 introduces a number of new characters. One's Dina, who's Ellie's kind of on again, off again girlfriend. It's in it at. And people were predicting, they thought they saw Dina in the one scene in episode 1 when she's at Jackson with all of the, not the Fireflies. Are they Fireflies? Whatever Tommy's people are called. This is really bad. If you came here for expert analysis, I apologize. It's not. That's not what this podcast is at all. It's more just random bullshit into a mic. But I think what they'll end up doing, because Pedro Pascal as Joel was so beloved, and he did such a good job embodying that character in season 1, at least in my opinion. I think they will keep him around for almost all of season 2. I think it would be good because they've also said they're not going to get too far ahead of the games. They want to tell this story right. And they've said that they know that part 2 is bigger. It's more than just one season. I think what they should do is they should have season 2 be primarily flashbacks, build more on Joel and Ellie's relationship. This gives you more time with those characters and to dive into some of the themes. Potentially positive or negative, it is going to make it even that much more impactful and suck and brutal when Abby kills Joel. But I think that they should have, we'll assume a 10-episode season. That's what HBO does a lot. That's what season 1 of this was. I think they should do flashbacks the majority of the game, have Joel and Ellie's conflict that they have, because like they have a rocky relationship at the start of part 2, and you learn it more in flashbacks, partially because she doesn't believe what Joel had told her about finding the cure, her being the only one, and just in general, the weight that she has and some other issues that her and Joel are not in the best place. So I think you could develop that out. It also gives Bella Ramsey time to get a little older and age up for how kind of a little more mature and weathered Ellie has grown by the time of the second game and this second season. The older, more mature Ellie that's a little more hardened. So I think you have their conflict in it. You have that play out. You give Dina and Jesse, Jesse's another main character in the game that is from Jackson. You give them some more character development moments. And then I think you don't introduce Abby until episode 8. And you have episode 8 be entirely focused on her character and the other, Western Liberation Front wolves from Seattle. You have it focus on them and their trip from Seattle to try to find Joel. You don't give away too much about that, but you have where they're coming up on Jackson, kind of like the game opens up if you played the game. I think that kind of standalone episode introducing that character, it would be kind of similar to the Bill episode in season 1, where it's only going to tangentially cross over. And you just jump right into a new character, get thrown in there. That way they're building not necessarily goodwill with the character, because it's never explicitly stated. When you first introduce her to her, you don't know that she's looking for Joel in the game. They're just trying to find someone. If you could put 2 and 2 together, it's fairly clear. But she just seems like she's on a mission and dedicated. So you introduce that to her, and you have episode 8 end with Abby meeting up with Joel and Tommy like she does in the game when they're running away from the horde of infected. So then episode 9, I think you have open with Abby, Joel, and Tommy escaping the infected and then being confronted by the rest of the group from Seattle in the lodge that they're in. And you go back and forth between that and Ellie out looking for Joel and Tommy. Because in the game, she's on patrol, and then Joel and Tommy go silent. So she kind of splits off to go find them. I think you do that in episode 9. You go back and forth with those. And then I had this on here, the episode 7. Oh, yeah. Sorry. My notes, scatterbrained. I wrote these in like March. So I said episode 8 is the Abby episode. I think the episode before that should end. So episode 7 with Ellie, Dina, Jesse, they have a confrontation when they're out on patrol because Dina and Ellie go sneak off and find a place with weed and they're smoking and fucking. And Jesse catches them when they're supposed to be on patrol, not too pleased, and he tells them that Joel and Tommy have gone missing. So I think that's how episode 7 ends. Episode 8 begins with Abby and the Seattle crew out traveling. You get to meet those characters a little bit more. Abby, Owen, all the rest of that gang. And then 8 ends with her meeting Joel and Tommy, running away from Infected. 9 opens with them escaping the Infected, going to the lodge, being confronted with the rest of the group from Seattle. And then episode 9 ends with Joel's death. So didn't play the game. Ellie comes across the house. They're all beating Joel up. Abby kills Joel with a golf club. They don't kill Tommy, but they kill Joel with a golf club and then knock out Ellie. And then I think episode 10, you have where Ellie's dealing with that and kind of healing like she is in the game. And then fighting with Maria, who's Tommy's wife, about going after Joel's killers. And then her and Dina leave to head for Seattle to go after them, which in the game, Tommy had gone off ahead of time. So Tommy already headed to Seattle to go try and track them down and find them. So then Ellie and Dina go after him because she can't let it go either that these people killed Joel and what they did to him. So I think you end season 2. The final shot of episode 10 is Ellie and Dina coming up to Seattle. So you can see them cresting the ridge, seeing Seattle in the distance. I think that's where you end episode 10. It goes a lot with how most HBO series, where the penultimate episode, that 9th episode, that one right before the end, is kind of the one that has the biggest moments. And 10 can be more kind of everything being pulled together in a more emotional arc and journey. I think that's a good way to do season 2. Season 3 then gets tricky with how you tell this story. If you, throughout the episodes, you go Ellie and Abby and you intermix their stories, because there's a decent amount of Abby backstory that's told throughout the second half of the game too, and how she became how she is, kind of what shaped her. And Abby and Ellie have a couple different confrontations throughout the game, and even there's a time jump before the end of the game too, a little bit. So I almost think that the Ellie and Abby things, even from when they're almost to Seattle, that could borderline be more than one season as well. There's so much between there, and I do not envy the showrunners at all, because it is going to be very hard when you've had a character that killed the beloved character from season 1 and you get the audience to care about them. I think that's going to be very difficult. They're going to have their work cut out for them. I don't feel like they would save Joel. If they take the cop out and they don't have Abby murder Joel, then it throws off the entire emotional arc. You cannot have part 2 be even remotely close to the games if you have that happen. So I don't think they would do that, but I do think they'll push it towards the end of season 2 and then season 3 open up with Ellie and Abby more. Although David Zaslav over at Warner Brothers has just been doing some ridiculous stuff and just making some insane financial decisions for the company, with the scrapping the almost completed Batgirl film. And then he did that with, I forget what it was called, Coyote versus Roadrunner or something like that. The John Cena one that supposedly had been screening great, was awesome, that they cut for like a tax break. And there's a lot of backlash on that one. And now they're letting them shop it to other production companies to release it. But I think they have something with The Last of Us season. I think it was very well received, even by people who didn't play the games. So I think they'll want to make this go longer if they can. And so that's how I think they should do it. I think season 2, a lot of flashbacks, character development. It would be a lot slower, but so was season 1. Season 1 didn't have a ton of infected and fighting, which they said that will open up in season 2. And season 2 in the game is a lot more action heavy as well, or part 2 of the game. I'm getting all my terminology thrown around here, but I don't envy how they translate the Ellie and Abby stories into the show. But I think that's how they should do season 2. Comment below what you think. If you played the game, if you're on my side, if you think they should just jump in and try to fit all of part 2 the game into one season, or what's your prediction? I wanted to get this out here partially because I'm selfish, because if my predictions are correct, then I'm just going to do a victory lap on here and be annoying. But those are my predictions for The Last of Us Season 2, and there's a little bit of a brief overview if you were dying to know what happened and you didn't play the game. So, all right. That's going to do it for this week's mini episode. Hopefully you enjoyed at least one of the reviews I talked about. If you didn't care about The Last of Us 1 and skip that, I don't blame you. I don't like to be spoiled on too many things. So if you want to go into season 2 of the show completely blind, good for you. That's going to do it for today. Make sure that you're following us on Instagram for any and all updates. We got another mini episode coming at you next week. And then we'll see what the release schedule looks like in December, because we're probably going to do a holiday movie for a December movie. So we might kind of shift when that comes out so that that's out before Christmas in case you want to watch it. And so we'll go from there. So hopefully there will be some updates, maybe tease or release what movie we're doing next mini episode. For the meantime, don't forget to like, comment, follow, share. You guys are awesome. Appreciate all of you. Don't forget to go down once more. Later.